Hey guys, just finished watching Cloak and Dagger, Season 1, Episode 4, Call and Response. What an episode this is. So we only have 6 more episodes left, because it says here on IMDb we're only getting 10 episodes. So we're kind of deep into it at this point, and it's interesting to see how it's really a slow burn for this episode, like powers wise, and then building up. Like they're not going to be Cloak and Dagger until the last, looks like to like the last episode, kind of like Marvel's Daredevil on Netflix. He doesn't really put on the classic Daredevil costume in the first season until like the end, the last episode. So it's interesting to see how they're slowly getting to that. Although they are making some pretty leaps forward to seeing them in their classic costumes and their classic look from the comic books in this episode. So hopefully we can get kind of close to that. I'd like to see more than just one episode of them looking comic book accurately and in costumes and stuff. Hopefully we can get like in the last 2 or 3 episodes. That would be really cool. It'd be nice to see that, see them playing around with that idea, and to see how things are going to look and where things are going to be different than their comic book, how they're going to interpret their comic book costumes. I think that's going to be cool to see that for the show. So we start off this episode with Tandy and Tyrone. They met, in the meeting in the in the church after where they left off from last episode. Tyrone had the whole they had the whole each other's nightmare type thing going on in their head, so they kind of had each other's awakening type thing, and they really talking about that, just seeing about how they're having each other's answers and type thing, and that was really cool playing with that. Tandy starts trusting Greg when she touches him, and starts seeing that he's being true the boyfriend of her mother. And Tyrone is tries to get to know Connors, but he goes to the station trying to get connections there and stuff, and he can't handle it. He ends up leaving the station since he has fear of the stuff there since his brother got shot by a police officer. Tyrone gets caught by his father with the bolt cutters, and that's where he kind of brings him to the I guess his old gang where they kind of do beating and stuff, so it's unclear what's going on there, but that's kind of an interesting idea to play with. I like the idea of how they're doing it. It's just, I don't get, what is that? They were just kind of, they some sort of gang. What were they doing? Were they selling drugs, stealing stuff? It's unclear how, what they were doing, and why did his father kind of get out of that stuff. Did he get out just when his son died, when Billy died? That would be cool to find out more about that as time goes on. Tandy wants to start touching, decides to start, let's test their limits, see their powers, and decide to touch. And that's when they get thrown to the opposite corners of they touch and their powers get activated, and then all of a sudden they just get kind of thrown to opposite corners of the building, of the church and stuff. So that was kind of cool seeing that. And then Tyrone, brings him to his old gang idea. Tyrone's father brings him to his old gang where he finds the cloak, and it was his brother's cloak, that it was unfinished bead project type thing. And I really like the idea that they have that now. And I can't wait to see how they're gonna it was obviously they're gonna make Cloak looks really good, and it looks like it's going to work from the comics, but it's going to be cool to see how they translate Dagger's costume from the comics, to see, because she's a different kind of, it's always been black, white and stuff, but it's going to be cool to see how they go with that and how they interpret that version of the comic book stuff, and how it's going to translate, because some things just don't translate to television. I think it was if you look at behind the scenes on Spider-Man 3, the reason why they didn't go for the comic book accurate Venom Spider-Man suit, black Spider-Man suit, is because it looked really too much like a BDSM costume when you put it to real life. So here, it's gonna be cool to see where things go with that, and how things are gonna go for Tandy's costume, and to see how comic book accurate it goes for her. So it'll be cool to see that in next week's. It looks like maybe next episode. We'll see when we get to see that. So Tandy ends up she's going to hanging out with Greg, who's also a lawyer, to try and work on the case, to try and get some money from Roxxon and see what Roxxon is up to type thing. And that's when she sees Craig get killed right after, and her mother had just broken up with him. She sees him getting shot, and then the place gets burned down. So she watches him get killed, and that was just I didn't see that one coming at all. That was cool, really cool. So it's going to be cool to see where things go with that and the whole Roxxon Corporation. Hopefully there becomes a connection between Roxxon and O'Connor's, and and interweaving each other's lives more than just their powers between Cloak and Dagger, between Tandy and Tyrone. I think it would be cool to see them actually everything coming full circle. Maybe Roxanne is also paying. Maybe Connors is a dirty cop, and we know he's a dirty cop, but like maybe he's also being paid by Roxanne to keep things quiet or something like that. That could be really cool to see. If he's involved in that too somehow, that could be quite cool to link everything all together, so they have to team up on things. So I think that'll be cool. Tyrone ends up blowing up when Tandy says she wants to try and kill herself, and that's when she kind of throws it at his face. That he's trying to do is get he's trying for a death by cop, to get killed by O'Connor's, when he's trying to kill him and stuff. So I think that is an interesting idea, how they leave on that sour note where they're both about trying to commit suicide, even though Tyrone doesn't want to admit it, but he kind of is, by going head on to this cop type thing. And the way he's going at it now is not really the right way to do it. That's where he's going to get himself killed by O'Connor's and stuff. And I like the way they're playing with that idea. And Tandy even goes as far as to try and kill herself. Puts chains around her legs and jumps into the water, but her powers end up bringing her up. And that was an interesting idea, the way they did that. I would have liked to have seen, though, because she jumps in the water, puts the chains around her legs, and then all of a sudden we just see her come up with the dagger. I would have liked to have seen that, what went on in the water. I would have liked to have seen the camera follow her down all the way, and then see her powers light up. Because it's unclear, did she do that on her own? Did she go down there and then Tyrone got inside her head type thing, and she's like no, and that's when she activated her own powers to do that? Or did her powers just bring her up? That's what it looked like. It looked like the powers just kind of brought her up. But if we had been down there in the water with her to see her how it did it, I think that would have been really cool to see how how that kind of works. The powers are able to kind of pull her up, stronger than the chains. Because it was interesting how much chain she had on. It didn't look like it was much. I mean, enough to pull to be heavy in the water. Obviously, you'll not be able to swim with that much chains on you. But didn't seem like it'd be enough to really hold her down there. She didn't have like 2 cinder blocks worth. I don't know if there was more chains in her body weight, really. So it just would have been cool to see that with the chains and the powers, and see that go activate while she's underwater. Film a scene underwater, do it in like a swimming pool type thing, and they could have done that. That would have been cool to see that. But I think that's just that's why it's on. Where in the budgetary reasons they couldn't really do something like that. But it would have been cool to see. Just like they did in the first episode when they were underwater and they touch hands. I was really hoping or thinking that Tyrone would just end up appearing there or wake up there type thing. He'd fall asleep on the floor after doing those push-ups and then kind of wake up in the water pulling her out. And it was really cool seeing her doing that. So that would be cool to see that, is to find out, a little bit more as she's using her powers. Because next time we see her, she uses her powers, she's able to cut open Greg's safe from the incident. Now it's unclear, did the cops find out that the place was burnt down, or did she go right in after it was all burnt down? I mean, it was a crime scene, so I don't see how, since the building is still there, a lot of the DNA, the evidence, the fact that his shot and splattered everywhere should still have been there. The adjoining buildings didn't just flatten down. It wasn't just a flat pile of rubble or anything. So I don't understand how. We'll see how things go with the investigation into that. It looks like it's going to be obvious enough that he at least was shot, because she didn't light the body on fire. At least it looked like the whole building came down. But it seems to me that if the building and if the structure of the building is still there, and that heavy safe is still in the wall, so the wall around the safe didn't crumble enough, wasn't burnt to ash, and there wasn't just a mound of wood piled on the safe. The safe was still on the wall. And so that would have been something to kind of, to me, seems like I think the body could still be enough to tell that, oh my god, it was shot. This was a homicide type thing. So I think this is going to be cool to see where the investigation goes with that, and especially with Tyrone at the end. He goes to see to talk to O'Reilly. Now I guess it seems like it's unclear if he was going there specifically to talk to O'Reilly about the case, Tandy's case, or if she's going to her for his own case, because it's unclear as to why would he go to her for his own case? He doesn't trust her. I mean, Tandy probably doesn't even trust her type thing. It's clear that they're setting her up as like, the hero cop type thing, and I get that they're making her into a bit of a character. We've only had bits and pieces with her, and it's going to be cool to see how that relationship goes with that character and see a little bit more of her. But I feel like we're not going to get too much of her, and we'll see where things go with that relationship between Cloak and Dagger and O'Reilly. Maybe it becomes, kind of like the Commissioner Gordon to their Batman type thing. So that'd be cool to see that. So all in all, I like the way things are going. It looked like I said at the end, it looked like when she cut into Greg's safe, she called the power, so she was able to control it a little bit more. So now she was able to activate it at that point. Maybe after jumping into the water, she was able to do it herself. So that's why I would have liked to have seen it in the water. Is it feels like we missed. All of a sudden she was able to just kind of call it on and activate her powers, and it feels like she had learned that and really got it going the first time when she was underwater. So that's why I would have liked to have seen that, being underwater with her, to see did the powers just activate on her own and pull her up. She couldn't commit suicide, kind of like a Mark Ruffalo's Hulk thing in the Avengers, where he says that he put a bullet in his mouth and the other guy just spit it out. He can't kill himself. So maybe that's the idea with her here, is that even though she tried to kill herself, her powers won't let her kill herself. Or is it the other way around? She was underwater and she changed her mind. She says, I do have stuff to live for, and she kind of activated her powers on her own, and it pulled herself up with that. So I think that would have been a cool thing to answer, rather than just leaving it just kind of, it looks like her powers that were activated on her own. And then because she was pretty shocked when she came out of the water with it, but I don't know for sure whether or not she could have changed her mind and just went, yes, I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna do this, I can live. She had an epiphany underwater type thing. It would have been cool to see exactly what happened and how it happened underwater. Did she call upon it, or did it bring her up on its own, type of thing? So that would be cool to see. Looks like things are gonna kind of be cool to see where things go. And the next episode looking like things are going to be getting somewhere. Maybe she can see where things go with this, but it's going to be cool to see where things go and how Tandy and Tyrone, how things continue on from here. Because like in the comic books, Cloak ends up like Dagger ends up kind of feeding Cloak her daggers, because if he doesn't, he kind of gets starts kind of getting taken over by the evil dark dimension that he ends up teleporting into all the time. And if she doesn't expel her powers, it ends up just going off on her own uncontrollably. So I think that's going to be cool to bring those parts into the show. And I feel like, why would you not take that parts from the comic books? It just makes up that much more drama for the show, just like the whole reason why Stan Lee made Spider-Man's web shooters mechanical, is that you have that much more drama, that, oh my god, he ran out of web shooters, that there's another level of storytelling to play with, rather than having it organic, that he never runs out of. I think that's an interesting idea to play with, things like that, how their powers, they need to use their powers properly, otherwise they'll go off without with uncontrollably. And I think that's really going to be cool to play with that, and how that goes into the rest of the series and the rest of the seasons for this show, because this is really going to be a cool show to follow from here on out. So all in all, I really like this episode, where things are going. I'm hoping for a little bit of a faster burn for this episode, for these few episodes coming up, because like I said, I'd like to see at least 1 or 2 episodes. 3 would be awesome, of them completely in control. I mean, I wouldn't say completely 100% in control, but maybe like able to activate their powers and actually just kind of use them at will in full on comic book accurate costume. That would be really cool for the show, and to see how they end up passing off, like this Cloak. In the comics, he always wears his cloak and stuff, and how is that they're going to play in this show type thing. That would be really cool to see all that, how things hopefully can all mesh together, become one kind of related story. Maybe Connor's working for Roxanne type thing. They can all be cool to see all that. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode. Where do you think things are going, and how do you think things are going to go for the next 6 episodes we have left? And I'll see you guys in the next videos, which will be my Luke Cage Season 2 reviews for will be coming out tomorrow. So we'll see how I end up doing that tomorrow, but I might not be doing it every episode reviewing. I might just like every second episode, every third or fourth or whatever. We'll see how I end up doing that, or maybe just one video throughout the end. We'll see how time goes for tomorrow. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for my Luke Cage stuff. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes
Subscribing.
is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.